Hello, my friends. Dr. Mandel here. If you're struggling with hair loss, thinning hair, or slow regrowth, I want you to understand something very important right from the start. Hair loss is rarely just a hair problem. It is almost always a nutrition, circulation, inflammation, or hormone issue happening inside the body. Your hair follicles are living tissue, and just like every other living cell, they respond to what you feed them. Today, I'm going to show you specific fruits that help stop hair loss and support thicker, stronger hair growth, not through magic, but through biology and science. And I'll also show you how to use them correctly in daily life. Hair loss does not begin on your scalp, and that truth alone changes everything you think you know about thinning hair. Every strand you see falling into your hands is not a random accident, not bad genetics acting overnight, not simply aging doing what it does. It is a message, a biological warning signal from deep inside your body telling you that something is off long before bald spots appear. Science confirms this in ways most people never hear. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the human body, which means they are also among the first to suffer when the body is under stress, nutrient deficiency, inflammation, or hormonal imbalance. Your body is intelligent, and when resources are limited, it diverts nutrients away from hair growth toward organs that keep you alive. Hair becomes expendable, survival does not. Research published in dermatology and endocrinology journals shows that chronic inflammation is one of the strongest internal triggers of hair loss. Inflammatory markers like CRP and cytokines directly disrupt the hair growth cycle, forcing follicles prematurely into the shedding phase known as telogene. This means your hair is not weak because it is old. It is weak because your internal environment is hostile to growth. Blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, and silent inflammation damage tiny blood vessels that feed the scalp. When circulation is compromised, oxygen and nutrients cannot reach the follicle, and without oxygen, hair cannot grow. It suffocates slowly, strand by strand, long before you notice thinning in the mirror. Iron deficiency is another hidden culprit, and it does not always show up as anemia. Studies show that even low normal iron levels can cause significant hair shedding, especially in women. Hair follicles require iron to fuel rapidly dividing cells. Without it, growth slows, then stops. But iron deficiency rarely exists alone. It is often paired with low vitamin C, poor digestion, or chronic stress, all of which reduce absorption. You may be eating well and still starving your follicles because your body cannot use what you consume. That is not a hair problem. That is a systemic problem. Hormones play a brutal role as well. Elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, has been shown to shrink hair follicles and shorten the growth phase. Chronic stress literally tells your body that now is not the time to grow hair. At the same time, imbalances in thyroid hormones slow cellular turnover, making hair thin, dry, and fragile. Studies reveal that subclinical hypothyroidism, often missed in routine tests, is strongly associated with diffuse hair loss. The scalp is simply reflecting what the endocrine system is failing to regulate. Then there is oxidative stress, the silent destroyer. Free radicals damage follicle DNA, weaken the hair shaft, and accelerate aging of the scalp. Research shows that people with hair loss have significantly higher oxidative stress markers compared to those with healthy hair. This damage does not start on the head. It starts in the bloodstream, the liver, the gut. A body overloaded with toxins, processed foods, and chronic inflammation creates an internal environment where hair cannot survive, let alone thrive. Gut health is another shocking factor most people ignore. The gut is where nutrients are absorbed, hormones are regulated, and inflammation is either controlled or unleashed. Studies have found a strong connection between gut dysbiosis and hair disorders such as telogen effluvium and alopecia. If your gut lining is inflamed or your microbiome is imbalanced, critical nutrients like zinc, Biotin, iron, and B vitamins never reach your follicles. You could be swallowing supplements daily and still losing hair because the problem is not intake, it is absorption. Even dehydration plays a role. Hair follicles require proper hydration to maintain elasticity and strength. Chronic low-level dehydration thickens the blood, reduces circulation, and starves the scalp of nutrients. The body prioritizes hydration for vital organs first, leaving hair dry, brittle, and prone to breakage. This is not cosmetic damage, it is physiological neglect. The most uncomfortable truth is this: hair loss is often the body's early warning system. Long before diabetes is diagnosed, before cardiovascular disease is detected, before autoimmune conditions fully emerge, hair thinning can be one of the first visible signs that internal balance has been lost. Doctors have documented cases where unexplained hair loss preceded serious metabolic or hormonal disorders by years. The scalp becomes the messenger because it is sensitive, reactive, and honest. This is why topical treatments alone fail so often. You cannot shampoo your way out of inflammation. You cannot massage your way out of iron deficiency. You cannot oil your scalp into correcting hormonal chaos. Those approaches may temporarily improve appearance, but they do nothing to correct the internal conditions choking your follicles. Real regrowth only begins when the body feels safe, nourished, and balanced enough to invest energy back into hair production. When nutrition improves, inflammation lowers, circulation increases, hormones stabilize, and digestion strengthens, hair follicles respond automatically. This is not hope, it is physiology. Studies consistently show that correcting internal deficiencies and metabolic stress leads to reduced shedding and visible regrowth within months. Hair does not need to be forced to grow, it needs to be allowed. So every time you see hair loss as a surface issue, you miss the deeper message your body is sending. Hair loss is not betrayal, it is communication. And when you finally listen to what your body is asking for, your hair becomes one of the first signs that healing has begun. Hair does not grow because you want it to. It grows because biology allows it to. And when the body is given the exact raw materials it needs, hair follicles respond with almost surgical precision. This is where specific fruits come in, not as folk remedies, not as beauty myths, but as biologically active tools that directly influence the hair growth cycle at the cellular level. Science has shown that people suffering from chronic hair thinning consistently lack key antioxidants, micronutrients, and anti-inflammatory compounds, and many of those compounds are concentrated in fruits that most people either underconsume or use incorrectly. Take berries, for example. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries contain some of the highest levels of anthocyanins ever measured in food. These compounds do more than fight aging. Research published in oxidative medicine journals shows that anthocyanins protect the microvascular system, the network of tiny blood vessels responsible for feeding hair follicles. When these vessels are damaged by inflammation or blood sugar spikes, follicles are starved. Studies comparing individuals with hair loss to those with healthy hair show reduced scalp blood flow and higher oxidative damage in those shedding hair. Berries directly counter this damage, improving circulation and extending the anagen phase, the active growth stage of hair. This is not cosmetic, this is vascular biology. Avocados work in a completely different way, and that is what makes them powerful. Hair follicles are surrounded by lipid layers that protect the hair shaft and scalp. When healthy fats are missing, these layers weaken, causing dryness, breakage, and premature shedding. Avocados provide monounsaturated fats that integrate directly into cell membranes, improving flexibility and resilience. They are also one of the richest natural sources of vitamin E, a nutrient shown in clinical studies to significantly increase hair count in people with thinning hair by reducing oxidative stress in the scalp. Without adequate fat intake, hair follicles simply cannot maintain structural integrity no matter how many supplements you take. Citrus fruits trigger one of the most underestimated mechanisms in hair growth, iron activation. Oranges, lemons, limes, and grapefruits are packed with vitamin C, which is required to convert plant-based iron into a form the body can absorb. Research in nutritional science reveals that iron deficiency is one of the leading causes of diffuse hair loss worldwide, even in people who do not meet the criteria for anemia. Hair follicles use iron to fuel rapidly dividing matrix cells. Without vitamin C, iron passes through the body unused and follicles slowly shut down. This is why hair loss often persists despite healthy diets. The missing link is absorption, not intake. Papaya introduces another critical element, digestive efficiency. Papaya contains enzymes such as papain that enhance protein digestion and reduce gut inflammation. Protein is the backbone of hair, but if digestion is compromised, that protein never reaches the follicle. Studies have linked chronic gut inflammation to telogen effluvium, a condition where large amounts of hair enter the shedding phase simultaneously. Papaya also delivers beta-carotene, which the body converts to vitamin A in controlled amounts. Vitamin A supports sebum production, the natural oil that protects hair strands and prevents scalp dryness. Too little vitamin A leads to brittle hair. Too much causes hair loss. Papaya provides balance, not excess. Pomegranate targets the problem most people never think about: nitric oxide depletion. Nitric oxide is a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and increases circulation. Reduced nitric oxide levels are associated with poor scalp blood flow and weaker follicles. Pomegranate polyphenols have been shown in studies to boost nitric oxide availability, improving oxygen and nutrient delivery to the scalp. Animal and human research demonstrates thicker hair shafts and increased follicle activity when circulation improves. Hair does not need stimulation, it needs supply. Bananas play a quieter but equally important role. They are rich in potassium, B6, and silica, all of which support cellular metabolism and connective tissue strength. Silica, in particular, has been linked to improved hair thickness and tensile strength in nutritional studies. Bananas also help regulate blood sugar spikes when eaten with other foods. Stable blood sugar reduces insulin surges that can disrupt hormone balance and trigger inflammation, two major contributors to hair loss. A calm metabolic environment allows follicles to remain in growth mode longer. What makes these fruits powerful is not that they grow hair in isolation. It is that they remove the biological barriers that prevent hair from growing. They reduce inflammation. They improve circulation. They protect DNA. They enhance absorption. They stabilize metabolism. When these systems align, follicles wake up. Studies repeatedly show that when antioxidant intake increases, micronutrient deficiencies are corrected, and blood flow improves, hair shedding slows within weeks, and regrowth becomes visible within months. The shocking truth is that many people spend years chasing topical treatments while ignoring the internal starvation of their hair follicles. Hair is not dead material. It is a living extension of your physiology. Feed the system correctly, and the system responds. Not because of belief, not because of trends, but because that is how human biology works. When the body finally has what it needs, hair growth is no longer a struggle. It becomes a natural outcome. Hair does not respond to shortcuts, and this is where most people unknowingly sabotage their own progress. The idea that one food, one supplement, or one topical product can override an unhealthy lifestyle is one of the most damaging myths in modern wellness culture. Science makes this painfully clear. Hair growth is not controlled by a single switch. It is governed by an intricate network of metabolic signals, hormones, nutrients, and recovery cycles that only function properly when the body is in balance. Consistency is not a motivational slogan. It is a biological requirement. Research shows that hair follicles follow strict growth cycles that last months, not days. The anagen phase, where hair actively grows, can last anywhere from 2 to 7 years, but only if the body senses long-term stability. When nutrition fluctuates, sleep is disrupted, blood sugar spikes daily, or stress hormones remain elevated, follicles are repeatedly pushed into the shedding phase. This explains why people experience hair loss months after periods of stress, illness, or dieting. The damage was delayed, but it was inevitable. Hair remembers what the body has been through. Protein intake is one of the most underestimated factors in hair health. Hair is made primarily of keratin, a protein structure rich in sulfur-containing amino acids. Studies show that even mild protein deficiency can cause hair thinning, loss of pigmentation, and slower regrowth. Yet many people focusing on fruits and supplements forget the foundation. Without adequate protein, the body cannot rebuild hair. No matter how many antioxidants are consumed, the body prioritizes protein for enzymes, immune function, and muscle repair. Hair comes last. Hydration is another silent regulator. Research in human physiology demonstrates that chronic low-level dehydration thickens the blood, reduces plasma volume, and limits microcirculation. Hair follicles depend on consistent blood flow to receive oxygen and nutrients. When hydration is inadequate, the body conserves fluids for vital organs, and the scalp becomes collateral damage. Hair strands lose elasticity, break easily, and fall out prematurely. This is not dryness. This is reduced cellular supply. Sleep may be the most powerful but ignored hair growth tool available. During deep sleep, growth hormone is released, tissue repair accelerates, and inflammation is reduced. Studies show that chronic sleep deprivation elevates cortisol and disrupts melatonin, both of which negatively affect hair growth cycles. Melatonin receptors are present in hair follicles, and research suggests melatonin plays a direct role in regulating hair growth. When sleep is compromised, follicles lose their rhythm and shedding increases. Hair growth cannot outpace exhaustion. Blood sugar instability is another hidden enemy. Repeated spikes in glucose and insulin trigger inflammation and hormonal disruption. Research links insulin resistance to increased androgen activity, which can shrink hair follicles and accelerate thinning even in people without diabetes. High glycemic diets shorten the growth phase of hair and increase oxidative stress. When blood sugar is stable, inflammation drops and follicles remain in the growth phase longer. This is metabolic science, not dieting advice. Stress is not just emotional, it is chemical. Chronic stress floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline, signaling danger. Studies show that cortisol directly inhibits hair follicle stem cells, preventing new hair from forming. Stress also diverts blood flow away from the scalp toward muscles and vital organs. From an evolutionary standpoint, growing hair during perceived danger makes no sense. Until stress is managed, hair growth will remain compromised, no matter how perfect the diet looks on paper. Consistency ties all of this together. The body does not respond to occasional effort, it responds to patterns. Research in nutritional epigenetics shows that repeated exposure to healthy inputs can actually change gene expression related to inflammation, metabolism, and tissue repair. This means that consistent, good nutrition, sleep, hydration, and stress management do more than support hair growth. They reprogram the environment in which hair follicles operate. Hair growth becomes easier not because follicles are forced, but because resistance is removed. The most shocking truth is that many people quit just before results appear. Hair regrowth often becomes visible only after 3 to 6 months of internal correction, because follicles must complete their cycle before new growth emerges. Studies confirm that reduced shedding occurs first, followed by thickening, and only then visible regrowth. Those who chase instant results never stay long enough to see the biology unfold. Hair growth is not a cosmetic race. It is a long-term agreement with your body. When you provide consistent nourishment, adequate protein, stable blood sugar, deep sleep, hydration, and stress control, your body finally feels safe enough to invest energy back into hair production. And when that happens, hair does not just grow back. It grows back stronger, thicker, and more resilient than before. Not because of luck, because consistency allowed biology to do what it was designed to do.